This time last week, there were 30 MLB teams. At the beginning of this week, there were 16, and as of right now, there are only 8 teams remaining that are fighting for the World Series. How are you guys doing? It is Saturday, October 3rd, 2020, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to take you through each matchup coming into the divisional round of the MLB Playoffs. And of course, with each matchup being played in a bubble, I'm just going to give you as much context and insight as possible just to try to give you a good understanding of what's going on in these series going on into the next game, of course. And so I'm going to just take you through just how every team fared in the wild card and how all 8 of the teams that are still remaining got here. So first off, starting off with the wild card series, starting off with the American League, because that's how the American League started. The very first game was all American League teams. So initially it was mostly American League teams that were able to make it to the second round first. And starting with the top seed out in the American League, the Tampa Bay Rays were able to beat the Blue Jays 2-0. They won the first game 3-1, and they won the second game 8-2. They were able to win the first game with Blake Snell as their starting pitcher, and their second one with Tyler Glasnow. As both of their games they kept a pretty solid distance between them and the other team, as good as the Blue Jays were. I think the Rays offense is a lot better than I thought they were, and they ended up overwhelming the Toronto Blue Jays, especially this year in the playoffs. So they are going to be they're one of the teams to advance in the American League, and then they are going to take on the New York Yankees, who ended up beating the Cleveland Indians 2-0. Swept the Indians 2-0. After winning the first game 12-3 pretty handily over arguably the best pitcher in the American League, Shane Bieber. And in the second game, after the Indians were up 9-8, the Yankees were able to close it at the very end. So, of course, the Yankees offense is most definitely hitting on all cylinders, is clicking on all cylinders. But the question is their pitching... Is their pitching going to be enough for this Tampa Bay Rays matchup? And of course, because this will be the top seed in the American League facing off against the 5th seed in the American League, they're going to face off at Petco Park. That's where their bubble is going to be played. And of course, because it's a divisional series, this series will be the best of 5, and of course, it'll start right then and there. But yeah, following this the Yankees and the Blue Jays, I think is going to be a very interesting series. And if you were to ask me, the Yankees and the Rays, I would say the Rays are going to win, but I think the Yankees have the roster to get past them. But to be honest, actually, I probably take the Rays because their pitching is stronger, and I thought hitting would play a bigger role in these games, especially 3 months in. But I think since pitching wins, I wouldn't be surprised if the Tampa Bay Rays got or disposed of the New York Yankees pretty easily, because don't get me wrong, they still have Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka, but I think the Rays pitching is that much better than the New York Yankees. The Yankees have better bullpen pitching, but I think it'll be hard for the Yankees to get the Rays pitchers in line. And of course, they've already played each other this season, so of course that's also something to look forward to. I think that's going to be a very fun series to watch. And then looking out to the other American League Divisional Series, the 6th seed Houston Astros are going to take on the 2nd seed Oakland A's, and looking out to how both those series went. The Houston Astros took on and were able to defeat the AL Central champs, the Minnesota Twins, in 2 games. The first game they won 4-1. Their pitching was a lot better than a lot of people expected. Zach Greinke and Valdez were able to take the first game, and in the second game, it would be Urquidy along with Javier. I think the Astros have a lot of underrated pitching that I don't give them credit for, but I don't think their bats are caught up. Even though they still outscored the Minnesota Twins, they didn't score a lot of runs, so I think they're going to have to rely a bit more on pitching, which I think will work out for them so far. And they're going to face off against the Oakland A's, who after dropping their first game to the Chicago White Sox were able to come back. I'm looking out to how that series fared. Like I said, the White Sox were able to win 4-1. The Athletics were able to come back game 2, or they were able to get a 5-0 lead, and the White Sox were not able to come back. And then in the third game, they were able to beat the White Sox 6-4. And I think the Oakland A's are kind of like the Rays, where it's like, I think they have a lot of underrated pitching, and I think their pitching can carry them very far. And I like their offense. Their offense does get better and better by the day. And at the same time, I do like their pitching. But at the same time, I don't know if I'd want to bet against a team with playoff experience like the Astros. I don't know if the A's are that much better than the Astros straight up. And they do play in the same division, so of course that'll play into it a lot. But I think now that it is a playoff series where winner takes all and the loser gets eliminated, I think you add that amount of pressure to it. I'd pick the team that's been to the playoffs before just in this case because I don't think the A's are that much better to give them the edge over the Houston Astros with all their playoff experience. Even if they did cheat, they're still a playoff team and they've been there before and they've made it through this round. So I wouldn't be very surprised if the Houston Astros made it through the A's. I wouldn't be surprised if the A's made it through the Astros. If I had to predict, I would guess A's through Astros. But yeah, that's how those series. And then looking out to how the American League Series is going to line up. The first series that's going to take place is between the Houston Astros and the Oakland Athletics, and this series is going to be played at Los Angeles Dodger Stadium, which I think is ironic because the Astros played against the Dodgers in the series where they told everyone that they were cheating after the fact with immunity. But so the first game will take place on Monday at 4:00. Of course, the times after that will be determined, but it's supposed to be played. Games 1 through 3 are going to be played the October 5th through October 7th. And if it goes to 5, it'll be a Monday through Friday series. So, I mean, there'll be no breaks. The 5 days in a row for 5 games. And looking out to the other series, the New York Yankees, the 5th seed in the American League, will take on the top seed Tampa Bay Rays at Petco Park. First game will be on Monday at 8:07. And, of course, this will be another series that goes Monday to Friday, of course, if those games are necessary. Jumping out to the National League just to show you how we got to there. Starting off with the top seed, the Los Angeles Dodgers were able to get the best of the Milwaukee Brewers. In the first game, they beat them 4-2, and in the second one, they beat them 3-0. As I think those games do sound close, but I think the Dodgers were able to keep a good amount of separation between them and the Brewers all night. Add on to the fact that Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw are arguably the best 1-2 starting combo that a lot of these teams do have. And let's not forget that the Dodgers were the MLB's best pitching team, and we are at the spot where I guess pitching where hitting hasn't caught up to pitching necessarily yet. But I still feel comfortable about the Dodgers considering how easily they dispose of the Brewers. I wouldn't say easily, but they got rid of them very comfortably. And then looking out to the team that they'll be facing, they're going to be facing off against the Padres after the Padres are the only team in the National League bracket to go 3 games, and they were able to come back down from 1-0 to eventually beat the Cardinals. And this is a very streaky team, and I like the way they hit. They're one of the few teams whose offense has really guided them up until this point. Don't get me wrong, they've had some amazing pitching, but of course, their offense, their ability to kind of separate themselves from other teams, and just the ability to bring their players home, I think that's a very underrated trait. And considering that they're both in the National League West, they're gonna be playing against each other for not the first time. And this series is gonna take place at the Arlington Globe Life Field in Dallas. This series will officially start on Tuesday. This series, if it goes 5 games, is supposed to go Tuesday through Saturday. Of course, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are for sure. They're on MLB Network and Fox Sports 1 for a lot of the fans that are really out here just trying to watch some great baseball. So that's how that series is going to play out. And like I said, it's in Arlington, Texas. Then taking that to the final series, the 2nd seed Atlanta Braves, after beating the 7th seed Cincinnati Reds 2-0, and going into that series, the Braves did not allow a single run for the entire series. Their offense, it took their offense a second to click, but I think their pitching is starting to look scarier and scarier every day. And once they get their bats behind them and underneath them, I think they're a very formidable team that if I were the Dodgers or the Padres, I would be afraid to face the Braves in the National League Championship Series. And then looking out to their opponent, they're going to take on the 6th seed Miami Marlins after the Marlins disposed of the Chicago Cubs in 2 games. The first game they won 5-1. The second they won 2-0. So they've only allowed 1 run in the playoffs this year. And just looking at how they did, Sandy Alcantara and Sixto Sanchez were their 1 and 2 options. And I think once they face off against the Atlanta Braves, 1-2 options of, I believe, Max Fried and Ian Anderson, I think it'll be very tough for the Marlins to overcome the Braves, considering they played each other in the regular season. And as hot as the Marlins are, I don't think they're going to do better than the Atlanta Braves. So if you had to ask me, I think the Atlanta Braves take this series, and this series will be played in Minute Maid Park in Houston. And this series will, of course, go from Tuesday to Saturday if necessary, but Tuesday through Thursday games are set. So that's basically how this playoff series is going to be set. And if you're going to ask how I think these series are going to play out, looking out to the American League Division Series, I think the Houston Astros take on the Oakland A's, just to repeat, because I think their playoff experience will prove stronger, and I think it'll get them to the American League Division Series. Going on to the ALDS, I think the Yankees have a very good shot of beating the Tampa Bay Rays. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rays did win, but I think the Yankees are going to go past the Rays because I think the Yankees have a much more talented lineup through the order, and because they've been plagued by injuries, I think if the Yankees were fully healthy all year round, I don't think the Rays would be the top seed in the American League. But of course, they are streaky as well. The Rays are more consistent, but as of right now, I think the Yankees are hotter, and I think the Yankees advance. I don't think it'll be a Yankees Astros ALDS, and I could be completely wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Both teams are the lower seeds in their series, but I think it'll be a Yankees Astros series. Looking at how the National League Series go out, in terms of the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers. As much as I respect the Los Angeles Dodgers and how well they've played this season, this is the playoffs, and the Dodgers do tend to do a lot of the same things over and over again. Yes, they have Mookie Betts, but I mean, they've had like Manny Machado and like other top players in past years. I think because the Padres are a hotter team and they've seen this Dodgers team, and they're hotter as of right now, as out of the gate. I take the Padres over the Dodgers in this series because the Padres defense, their pitching isn't lacking, so it's not like the Dodgers pitching is that much better. But I think the Padres batting rotation is looking better than the Dodgers right now, which might prove to be the advantage. And of course, that's 3 series where I have the lower seeds winning, so I might be completely wrong on this. And I think the Atlanta Braves take the Miami Marlins because they play in the same division, and I think the Braves pitching is better, and not to mention they had the best offense in the National League this year. So I think the Braves Marlins series might be the only sweep out of this division because all these series are going to be very, very good, and I'm going to watch them all. But with that said, it is October 3rd, 2020 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims. I want to thank you for listening to all 13 minutes of my piece, and peace out.